we should be live. Let me check. Yes, we should be live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Lesson Learn podcast. We were just chatting before the show that the subjects we're going to be discussing today, and one of them, of course, is about gaming media and secrets and a lot of other things. First and foremost, I would be remiss to say that today is N7 Day. So happy N7 Day. After all, we tend to bash on BioWare a lot here, but they did deliver a terrific series of games, and I think at least we get to remember them, at least back in their heyday. So we're remembering them as they were, and they're promising, according to the Twitter, that perhaps they're going to be back to that again
at some point. But first, buy all our merchandise.
Yes, buy the hoodies, bunch of videos, maybe buy Andromeda.
Yeah. Oh, hey, yeah. Big announcement is that Andromeda's getting a patch, but it's not a story patch or anything. It's just a high texture resolution patch for the Xbox One X. Happy N7 Day.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can also read Mass Effect Annihilation, which is supposed to be the Quarian Arc DLC, in the form of a book.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Which I'm curiosity's peaked, but not enough to want to go out and buy the book and then actually read the book.
Yeah. I didn't buy the last book they used to finish up a story, which was one for KOTOR. So I don't think I'm gonna be. Actually, I haven't read any of the stories from
outside
yeah.
lore,
I seen pieces. I seen pieces of the anime they put together, which was, what was it about? Oh yeah, James Vega stuff.
Yeah.
I tried to get a copy of it, but I was like, oh no, this is not for me. Sorry.
Oh, I have a copy of that. It's terrible. It is very inconsistent with both Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Yeah, they're supposed to bridge the gap, so to speak, bring in this new character. I sort of played parts of borrowed a tablet and played the mobile games. The first one was okay. The second one was unplayable. As an FPS, you're so used to being able to play very quickly, and it's like, no, I'm not gonna play this. Not me. So yes, happy N7 Day. We went back to our own bullshit, I suppose, criticizing BioWare, but it's all out of love, I suppose. So we have not a lot of news, but we do have some substantial news. So let's talk about some of those news. I think the first one we're going to talk about, a continuation with chatting outside the before the podcast, was Diablo Infinity. I think it's the name of the game. Let me check.
Diablo Infinity, or no,
Diablo Immortal. Yes, Diablo Immortal, the follow-up to Diablo 3, which is a trilogy of games released by Blizzard all the way back to the mid-1990s.
Which is supposed to also bridge the gap between Diablo 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm. And it's a mobile game, and it was announced at BlizzCon. And BlizzCon being mostly a PC-centric event, because even though Blizzard does console games, especially with Overwatch and Diablo 3, most of their stuff is still very much on the PC. It went as well as expected, which is not at all.
Oh my! So I'm gonna say right up front, I really have no dog in this fight, and aside from just seeing, I don't like the trends of the video game company microtransaction nickeling dime their customers and stuff, but I do just kind of get a sense of like Schadenfreude with the story. Just I just need a wah button for Blizzard.
Oh yeah. Oh, Activision.
Well, yeah. Let's just call it. We might as well just say it's not really Blizzard anymore at this point. It's probably more Activision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So everyone everyone started booing.
Yeah.
People people were there's many a pregnant pauses during the announcement, and there was real vocal audible vocalizations of disapproval
Yes. And
during the announcement, and then there was a follow-up Q&A for the game where fans were asking politely, kind of jokey but polite. I wouldn't say they were mean,
not
but
really. As the
they
ones I saw
they were.
anyway. Yeah.
I mean, the big one was a fan asking, was this an out of season April Fool's joke on Blizzard's part, which they say no. And then, but the big one where I believe the person who was announcing it probably hurt their case and a big time was when a fan asked if, Diablo is mostly a PC game, and its origin, since it's on PC, it was originally PC IP. Did you guys have like any plans for maybe bringing this Diablo Immortal game to a PC, which we've seen PC ports from mobile games plenty on Steam. So I don't think it'd be out of the realm possibility of being able to adapt it. It may not be very good, but there's an option, which the person said, for now, it's the only plans we have are for iOS and Android, and the audience started booing. And his response to the booing is, do you all not have smartphones? Which is, it's not the point.
Wow, tone deaf. It's like,
yes,
yeah, you will play because we, if we make it, you will come. It's like, yeah, but I don't have to go.
So there's been many discussions with this about whether it's, I think it's reared that some journalists have kind of reared their ugly heads whether gamers are entitled, and how dare they not accept this thing with open arms, and mobile shouldn't be a dirty word in the gaming community, which I would argue it's not necessarily a dirty word, but it is frowned down upon for various reasons. I think that's rightfully so, because mobile games don't tend to be complete experiences without being nickel and dime with microtransactions.
And there's so much crap out there. There's mobile, so many clones, so much crap, so many shoddy products, and I mean, it's a different experience, right? It's you're playing a mobile as when you're, especially if you're a PC gamer, you play a mobile game when you're away from your computer, right? But if you're a PC gamer, your PC is your main platform, and you want to play your games there because it's the best experience. And people who worry about, FPSs and FOVs and all this stuff, they want the best experience, at least a very positive one. And so there's a reason why mobile has it's a dirty word in a way. It's because it has a very bad reputation. Games that are not very good, just a flood of games that are just riddled with microtransactions, and you can't, like the whole waiting timer thing where you want to play, well, true, you gotta wait X amount of hours or pay us $1.99 for 2,000 crystals or something. It's like there's a reason for that. And in this particular game, the company that hired was known for making essentially Diablo clones on mobile. And what they done is they took one of those games. Some people have made comparisons on YouTube mostly. Take one of those games and reskinned it with Diablo stuff.
Yeah. I have no idea what the microtransaction aspects of those games are, whether they're just cosmetic only, or if it's a timer thing, or are they going to nickel? You're going to take a step like, oh, you're going to need $5 more to continue your quest.
And I think it's also marketing 101. You got to know your audience. if this game had been, for example, what Bethesda, and we criticize Bethesda a lot. By the way, they're having their till they're doing their betas, the limited betas on the weekends. Um, let's say that you have an upcoming game. I don't know, like Fallout 4, and it's going to come out later in the year, but it's E3, and it's a long time from gaming terms, from May to or July to November. You might drop a mobile game. It doesn't have any pretensions of being a full game. It will have microtransactions, but it's also free to play. It's like, hey, here, as a gift, right? Here you have it, an E3, and you're announcing other things as well. Okay. But BlizzCon is very much PC centric because, again, that's what Blizzard has been for a long time, although they do console games or console versions of games, such as Overwatch being the big one, and Diablo 3. I mean, very popular in consoles. I played Diablo 3. I played all the Diablos, and I found Diablo 3 for some reason. Maybe I've been weaned from the genre itself, and I was kind of bored, and I didn't keep playing it. It works fine on console. It's just like, it's not my thing anymore, I guess. And the audience, people are playing. People are paying you for the privilege of going to your con to essentially be given a lot of commercials, right? And you don't. I mean, Blizzard has huge games. Blizzard is the company of the big game. Your Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Diablo, right? They don't have a lot of titles, but the titles that they have are huge, right? They are the company of the big game. They're Heroes of the Storm, right? And they're the kind of company that has been trying for a very long time to become the Disney World of video games, where all the games are tied to each other. A great example, for example, is that if you watch the latest short, the McCree short, there's a lot of stuff in that stuff that it's like ripped out of StarCraft. Including the bike at the end and hover bike that you go on. I mean, that, cowboy, a sci-fi cowboy on a hover bike. It's StarCraft, right? It's a lot of stuff from StarCraft, and that's deliberate. Like, it's like, oh, this is the Blizzard mega brand, like the Disney mega brand, right? It's a Blizzard product. You don't have a lot of games. You probably already teased the fact that a new Diablo game is coming. The expectations are, oh, this is going to be the next Diablo, right? You have Diablo 4 or something, or, smaller game, but it's going to be for PC primarily and everyone else. And they go like, oh, by the way, no, it's going to be a mobile game, which is exactly the opposite of that. And yes, you can say that's a bit chauvinistic and prejudiced that people usually on PC don't like mobile gaming. Or at least they see mobile gaming as a distant second and not so. And that may be all true, but you got to know your audience, right? If you know your audience is PC centric, the PC, the PC gods, right, who want the best, frame rates and all that, and they're excited for a new Diablo game, which is being classically a PC centric game, you don't go, oh, by the way, well, screw you, we're gonna do it mobile. Oh, by the way, we're not planning on putting a port of this on PC. I was like, so, I think the reaction of people in the audience was like, well, then what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And this is not for us, Clearly, this is not for us, right? And that's another thing about the fan environment is like being a fan and you are in a charged environment. It's about the hype train as well. This is when the hype train really backfires, because when you have people hyped up, the announcements and the tournaments, they're in the mix. These are the true fans, or at least as true fans as they get. They're there because they want you. There's an expectation that you're going to give them what they want, because that they're supporting you and they're hardcore fans. And maybe they might not play Overwatch, but they play or Heroes of the Storm, but they probably play Diablo 3 or they play World of Warcraft, whatever. They're there because it's Blizzard, right? Mm-hmm. It's like saying you go to Disney World and when the custom character comes out, it's Daffy Duck. You're like, that's not. I mean, it's Daffy Duck, and Daffy Duck is fine, but it's a Warner Brothers character, and I'm here in Disney World. What the heck is going on, right? It's so it's just it was a bad move all around as far as marketing concerned. And it seems that the stockholders on Activision Blizzard,
the real customers of
yes,
Activision.
the real customers of Activision took notice, and we talked about this a week before, and we're going to talk it again because it seems that the stock of Activision yet took another hit, another 7 points down, which if maintains the trend from last week, which were about 7 to 15 points, I think it could be as down as much as 21 points. We're talking about millions, if not potentially millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Sure, they can bounce back, but it also, again, is an example of how fragile the current market is. You know, people say, oh, they're making a lot of money and they're always going to make money. Yeah, but when you make $500 million on Call of Duty in release and that hurts your stock, when you release Diablo 3, Diablo version of Diablo on mobile, which is supposed to make a lot of money because of microtransactions and all that.
Yeah.
And your stock takes a hit. Yeah, the formula does have its problems. It is fragile, and you gotta keep your eyes on it.
Yeah, and which is sad because this game is probably going to make money too. Oh, Diablo Immortal, especially in the Asian market, with the mobile market is big in Asia right now, and
the US as well. I mean, it's huge.
I think, well, if Blizzard had like a Asian BlizzCon, that probably would have been a better audience to announce that and end their main presentation with, instead of just the BlizzCon in the West. But I think one way they probably could have gone away with this is if they didn't really announce it at BlizzCon, but then just later kind of like, oh yeah, we're releasing Diablo Immortal, which is a mobile game, and in like the Asian market only, and just have it exclusive to that region, and then have the fans kind of want this game, and demand it, even if it is just a mobile game to release it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, here you go, and then there you go, you look like the good guy, and you released a mobile game for a PC IP and got away with it. Sure, you still would have had fans upset, but nowhere near as bad as this.
I mean, yeah, again, I think it's more of a marketing, blunder or anything like that, which is rare for Blizzard, but it does happen from time to time.
Everyone has their lapses in judgment.
Yeah, and this should not have been unexpected. Right? I think this is not.
I just can't imagine like if they announced what was that mobile game, the Dragon Age Heroes, that Dragon Age mobile game. It's like everyone's waiting to hear about like Dragon Age 4 or even Dragon Age Inquisition, and then they're like, oh yeah, we're working on the next Dragon Age game, and then come E3 and it's like, oh look, Dragon Age, the Heroes, it's a mobile game,
which is a mobile game that runs on power crystals and stuff like that. I mean,
yes,
it's like I saw it and I was like,
no. I tried it. I'm like, no.
Talking about big games, Rockstar and all the company, and we'll talk more about Rockstar in a moment, but Rockstar is now apparently fixing a huge bug in Red Dead Redemption 2, a game that took hundreds of hours per week to make, and they were so proud of it until they realized that wasn't a good idea.
I mean, how did they miss something like this? Like, was everyone in the office and all the play testers that have to put in the hundreds of hours and definitely work overtime on like what they've said is like just get so good at the game that doing this one mission they never failed it and never played through enough to realize, oh, my companions are missing.
By the way, I have a number for how much Activision Blizzard stocks lost. I said billions, I was right. It's estimated at $3.7 billion.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money, honey. That is indeed a lot of money. And especially now that we're in November, which is prime video game um, time. It's like this
Yeah,
is
we're
not you. This is not the time you want that. Of all the times you don't want those kind of bad news, it's in November. Um, 31, 3.1. Wow, that's a lot of money. That's a heck of a lot of money. These games make a lot of money, and they apparently are also gonna lose a lot of money. I mean, it's just insane.
so maybe by July or maybe by January, when the holidays are all said and done, and people have gone up and bought holiday presents and whatnot.
Hmm.
Maybe their stocks will bounce back by then.
Yeah, probably. Well, when the money starts rolling in from the microtransactions, they're gonna bounce back. But still, it's just one of those things where, like, you could have done better. Yeah, no. And some other news, the Fallout 76 test plays continue, and apparently they have worked out aspects of that big bug that they had that would essentially erase your game. I haven't seen a lot of people complaining about that one, but it's still going to be in their own service, just like the next Doom, Nation of Doom, and I don't think that's gonna be a thing that I'm gonna play for once, because I don't feel like playing it, to be honest. It's just, I don't know. It's just I don't want to have yet another client on my machine. I don't feel like doing that, and I don't see a reason why I should do that.
Yeah, I don't. I'm trying to even think. I'm like, what could Bethesda release right now that would get me to download their client? And I can't think of anything because I was really disappointed with Fallout 4. That I'm probably not going to pick up another Fallout game. And Elder Scrolls,
Yeah.
we won't see that for years, realistically. So unless they added like a sexy orc dating mechanic to Elder Scrolls, I wouldn't pick it up right now.
I mean, it's interesting. I would think Doom would be the one because I like the remake of Doom, so that sort of intrigues me. But again, I mean, I don't see no reason why it shouldn't be on other platforms like GOG. Well, I know the reason. The reason is they want their own platforms, they can do their own pricing, and they don't have to pay a percentage to Steam or GOG or anyone, even though they still have to give them a cut to Sony and Microsoft on consoles. What I seen of the online of Fallout 76 is just Fallout 4 with multiplayer.
It
And
does not.
I think it would have been much better. I mean, considering the penchant for them to just keep releasing the same game over and over again, why not release like a multiplayer mod for Fallout 4?
Yeah, that is weird. Or like a multiplayer expansion, maybe.
Yeah, I mean that would have been better. I think. I mean, it's you know,
but I honestly trying to figure out how to integrate like NPCs and stuff to acknowledge your character, or try to like second player and the other players kind of acknowledging him in there would probably be like immersion breaking, and probably way too much work than they would have tried to implement. That's probably why there's no NPCs in.
I don't know. You could have found another vault or something. Rescue more people. Frozen.
Yeah. I honestly thought it was kind of a stupid plot thing. It's like, oh, we're just gonna kill all these other frozen people.
Yeah. So other people there, I don't know. It's a thing.
Just to show how evil this one guy is.
Yeah. There could have been easy ways to do it. I don't think it would have been much of a big problem. But that's the thing. Okay, let's see if we have other news. I want to searching the news.
Let's see. We didn't finish our Rockstar glitchy thing. So the big glitch is that if you fail a mission, I believe like in chapter 2, and you hit a I assume that you die or whatever, or you fail it, and then you get a little menu thing that says, "Do you want to reload from the last checkpoint and continue on?" And apparently, choosing that will make your companions disappear at least until chapter 2. So there will be nowhere to be found. Period. So at this time, Rockstar is just saying, "Oh yeah, this is a bug. If you do fail that mission, don't hit reload from last checkpoint. Just abort the mission and start it over again."
That's a huge bug.
Yeah.
Especially because many times it's just exactly what you do. It's like, oh, I failed, so I just click the button and go back. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, which I don't know how this is, since it's an open world. What if you like spent hundreds of hours doing other things first and then you continued on the story and it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I can see that as a huge headache. I mean, especially loading bugs are bad in most games, horrific in open world games. Because again, you can, like you just said, you can spend a lot of time doing other stuff, and you get trophies or whatever, and you're doing this and that, and it's like, yeah, I lost all that, and I had to go back to the story mission to unlock that. Wow.
Yeah. So.
This is something very interesting. It says Fortnite Cube collapses. I'm gonna check that news because I saw it, but I didn't follow it up. So Fortnite's
Since I believe either one of us are fans of Fallout or
a Fortnite.
A Fortnite, it's. I assume it's some sort of in-game thing.
Okay, yeah, it's a big. Yeah, I thought it was something that actually went back. Okay, let's say VG247. Let's look what the. Millions tune in to watch Fortnite Cube Final Collapse. On the weekend, the giant purple cube exploded in Fortnite after spending almost 2 seasons in the game. Apparently, it's just an in-item thing that was in the game and finally just... And it collapsed, and so they updated an area of the map called Leaky Lake. So, and people were like so excited for it. Part of that news also is that apparently YouTube is also coming to the Switch. So now you can watch YouTube on the Switch. For the people who are looking for yet another way of watching YouTube. Or more to the point, it's not another way. It's more like, oh, I have this device and I watch a lot of YouTube on my phone. So I guess if I had the Switch, I would like, I just watch the same videos on my Switch and go back and then play whatever I'm playing. So that's a cool little feature. It's it's Nintendo being somewhat smart. Yeah,
it adds more reason to just use your Switch, I guess.
Deltarune. Did we talk last week about Deltarune?
Yeah, we mentioned it, the Deltarune. Though apparently Toby Fox has kind of mentioned, he did like mention a few more things, but essentially chapter 1 took him like years to make. And so don't expect like a console port anytime soon. And even if he would port it over to a console, he'd want it to be a complete package. So I don't know when and if we'll ever see more Deltarune.
I'm thinking that's just a teaser to whet people's appetites. It's like, oh, you like this? Keep himself sort of alive, as it were, in the space. Which is always a good idea, especially if you're, indie developer. You don't want to be the guy who just made that one game 5 years ago. It's like, who? What?
Yeah.
What game? I don't remember. Yeah, I played that game. It was good. Whatever. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. That's not the thing you want to do. So I think we're gonna go back to the news. We're gonna circle back to Activision. No, actually to Rockstar. Because I think we're getting to the point where we're going to talk about this. And let's talk about how Rockstar suppressed the news. You think that the government would be the stuff doing suppressing news, but no, it's Rockstar. Rockstar suppresses news report. Let's look at...
like they essentially... They didn't really so much sue a news media outlet. I believe it was a United Kingdom outlet that they kind of strong armed them into taking an article down. in which they leaked Red Dead Redemption 2 back in February, and made them donate money in Rockstar's name to a charity,
Okay,
which is essentially because they were mad that they leaked some corporate documents, or they got their information for some corporate documents where it's technically, as long as they didn't steal the documents, if it was given to them, it was well within their rights as a media, as a news outlet, to report on the news.
Okay, let me. I think. Yeah, but I want to get the
actual story.
the actual story because I think it's very important to what we're gonna talk about today. I had it here somewhere. Oh, there we are.
And I'm thrilled.
I saw it from the Jinquisition. You saw it from Young, yeah, right?
Yes. As I believe I saw it on.
Yeah, okay. It's recently Rockstar and Take-Two managed to get over £1 million from a website for leaking accurate Red Dead Redemption 2 information. Jim Sterling did a video on this, and I'm going to link to it because I think his take is very interesting. The little audio that you heard is from the video. I apologize. Hopefully that will not get me voided. So here you guys go. You want to check that out, you can go to Jim Sterling's stuff. That came out about Thursday last week, so we couldn't, after the podcast, so we didn't talk about. Okay, here we are from Kotaku. British website forced to pay in US dollars 1.3 million over Red Dead Redemption 2 leak. The British website Trusted Reviews today, and this was on the 1st of November, last week, apologized to publisher Take-Two Games and said it was donating £1 million, about $1.3 million, to charity after publishing leaked information about Red Dead Redemption 2 in February of this year. According to Kotaku, it's a radical move that raises serious questions about editorial independence and the legal threats against the press. Now, this was done, like you said, in Britain, so British law when it comes to the press is a bit different. But still, and I think it goes to the core of what we're going to talk today. We're going to rethread a lot of stuff that Jim said, and we're probably going to add our own commentary to it. Regardless of how you feel about leaks in general, some people are very, I guess the word would be anal about it, or not. This is not good precedent, right?
No, I don't believe it is.
First of all, we're talking about the video game industry, and I think we have to sort of take a step back. And I said this before, many times before. The video game industry is riddled with secrecy. Not secrets, but secrecy. NDAs all over the place. People not being able to really talk about projects, but they still have to hype them, right? So it's a smorgasbord of things that we know, but we can't talk about, but everybody knows, with things people don't know, but we really want to talk about because they hype our product. A lot of stuff after the fact, but only from disgruntled or employees that really are no longer in the business or are not afraid of getting burned because their bridges have already been consumed on hellfire and brimstone. And now on top of this, then we have a company like maybe it has to be Take-Two because people have the money for it. They're the publishers. Yeah. Essentially squashing stories, or not squashing stories. Forcing companies, websites to apologize and give millions in pounds or in dollars or whatever currency. It says to charity, but in a sense, it's a punishment, right? It's like, and I don't know how this was done. I don't know. Nobody, and that's another thing. Again, the secrecy hurts because the website is not talking about the reasons for this, other than the very apology. The letter they made. Certainly Rockstar and Take-Two are not talking about this, what really happened. But if I were to guess, is that they maybe have basically threatened to sue. because the material they got might have been stolen, right? And they perhaps knew that it was stolen. That's the argument they were going to make in British courts, in the courts of the crown, and let's be honest, I think most of the time is that the website doesn't have the money and the capability to fight back.
Yeah.
So it's extortion in a sense. It's legalized extortion, right? We're gonna sue, even if we lose. You don't have the money to survive the lawsuit, so you could win a victory and still be bankrupt. Although there is one thing, I think Rockstar probably was. The lawyers were pretty confident because there is a clause in Britain, particularly England. It's a losers pay jurisdiction.
Yeah.
If you sue and you lose, you gotta pay. So while there are stronger laws against libel, and which have been used against newspapers, especially tabloids in the past and used often, that also means that you run the risk that you're going to lose. And I think this website was simply said that we're never going to get into that point because we might be bankrupt by the time we get there, right? And so,
and especially when you think about, and I was just kind of thinking about this the other day, the business structure of how these video game publications kind of work, and their main money comes from the gaming industry, which is, it's just a big mess in it of itself. Just because it's like, where else would you get your funding? I guess would be, you'd have to try to appeal to other things that are related, or try to convince other companies that hey, people who read up on video games and stuff are also your target audience, or there's a huge overlap, which might be very difficult. I was just kind of thinking this the other day when I was in a vet's office, and I was looking at, it's any doctor's office. You're sitting in the waiting room and you're flipping through whatever magazines they have, and being a vet's office, they have a lot of pet related magazines, and I'm just sitting there and just like looking at the article headlines and stuff, and it's, to me anyways, it's a pet owner. A lot of this is like, a lot of these articles are so simplistic and they're so like common knowledge, and it's like, what even is this, like this special interest publication? It's like maybe 20 pages of really simplistic, and maybe sometimes it's something, news breaking and stuff to the special interest of just 20 pages of articles, and maybe 60 other pages of just ads. You're essentially almost buying or picking up this magazine to be advertised to.
Yeah, I mean,
and of course, most of it's all going to be pet related stuff, like, oh hey, cat litter and dog food
and whatever.
Yeah, like, hey, check out this new medication that may or may not keep your pet alive.
Yeah, hopefully. Just like real medication to people. It's like, oh, these are the horrible symptoms, side effects, but take it if you don't like to have spots in your face. And well, again, I guess we have to go back to the history. I'm a history buff, and I love the history of video games. So one of the things we have to talk about is how these magazines came to be. I mean, a lot of them were just fan signs. A combination of fan signs, just fans writing to each other, talking about all these things, and people were interested in this. And the very video game companies like Nintendo, right, with and GameSpot, Game Informer from GameSpot and stuff like that, Nintendo Power from Nintendo, etc., and putting these publications to keep the audience abreast of the new developments and all that, especially the hardcore audience, right? And because of the combination of things, on top of that, of course, is advertising. Who's going to pay for this, right? And this has been something that we talked about for a while. I mean, there has been in the past, companies like EA and others have threatened bigger publications saying, okay, fine, you publish this, or you gave this score to us, then we're going to pull, a multi-million-dollar ad buy over the period of many years, right? Or a year or so. Usually the ad buys are done 6 months. It's using a fiscal, calendar, so anywhere between 3 months to to an entire year. So that's a lot of time and a lot of money. If somebody says we're not going to buy ads on your magazine for a year, and that you're expecting, say, I don't know, around $1.3 million, perhaps, that's a big hole in anybody's budget, especially if you're talking about millions. And I think finally, there's also access as well, right? Getting those scoops like the ones you're talking about requires access, requires people to talk to you. It's much easier when you literally get invited into the office to talk to, the head honcho and have an interview and record it and have a mini doc about, all the special effects and all that, and everybody's smiling, versus having to talk to somebody around NDAs and stuff like that, and we're like,
or hope that like, oh hey, my cousin just happens to work at Blizzard or something, and they just said, oh yeah, they're working on some Diablo game,
whatever the rumor is and isn't, and or we got a copy of this game early because it fell in the back of a truck or something. I mean, it's the things you have to do in order to get the information, and information is relevant, and also speed as well, right? You gotta be able, especially in the internet, you gotta publish as quickly as possible. I think that's what Jim was talking about. He pulled his video about Deltarune because the designer of Deltarune asked. He asked. He didn't demand. He was not going to sue anybody. He says, hey, guys, wait 24 hours before so let the audience sort of, I suppose, play, and for him to sort of take a break, see what, get what. I think it's more of, more personal. It's like, okay, I'm going to release the game, pull back from the internet for a day, so I can take a break so I don't get inundated with stuff, good or bad or indifferent. And then when I come back, I'm more relaxed, which is a great personal strategy. But nobody was under any obligation to do that. And also, it's like the way games get reviewed is that often they get reviews either because you get sent a copy and there's an embargo, or you get flown or taken to somewhere, to a hotel or something, or convention. It's like, okay, here's the machines. Go play for like half an hour, an hour or two, and write your review, right? Under sometimes very heavily scripted and supervised sessions. And there's also, and I think Jim mentioned, the attitude of the video game industry that the journalism as it is an extinction of their marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That you're supposed to write glowing reviews. You're supposed to, we're going to leak information when we want to. We're going to give you exclusive when we want to, when we need to. And linking back to the mistakes made with Diablo Immortal, linking to the hit that Activision took twice, but particularly the second time around with Diablo Immortal. And we talked about the hype machine. We talked about the sort of this massive business model that starts with the release of the hype machine and all that. Being in control of the advertising cycle, which again, another factor is that sometimes it can inflate the cost of a game by 2 or even 3 times. So for every dollar you spend making a game, you could easily be spending $2 or $3 or the equivalent of 4 or 5 on advertising. That means, among other things, leak control and, leaking when you want to leak, and talking whisper campaigns and hype campaign, and reaching out to Kotaku and reaching out to Game Informer and all that. One of the things I think Jim mentioned was had to do with Borderlands 2, and how our friend of the program, Randy Pitchford, was very angry when basically Game Informer got scooped by another publication outlet, and he was furious. And I can understand why he was furious. He didn't have a right to complain. I mean, it's like, call it shoddy journalism, the attitude that you serve us. But imagine the money and timing that went into getting it right, and manufacturing that release, right?
To try to manufacture hype too.
Exactly, and maintain it. And all of a sudden somebody goes like, oh yeah, we already got this. There's ways to handle that, but that means basically that the money essentially means that whatever checks they handed to Game Informer were useless. Because yeah, the money, the information is out there. You can still use it, but that means that essentially that ad buy. Remember, Game Informer is still owned by GameSpot, and GameSpot sells games. That's why GameSpot has Game Informer in order to have their audience appraise of the latest and greatest game. And so, GameSpot wants companies to sell through GameSpot. So they were like, okay, let's make an arrangement here where you give us the exclusive, right?
Yeah, and of course they push those magazines too. Like, hey, you get a free subscription when you buy our like club membership card thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Power to the gamers.
Power to the gamer, yeah, indeed. And the views as well, right? Website views. If you have a YouTube channel or like we're doing here on Twitch, subscribers, followers, cheers, views. You get money from commercials if the platform supports commercial and in the commercials, the money from the commercials go to the content creator. All of that, right? It's part of the cycle, right? And it's also, for example, sponsoring, influencers. Also part of this as well, right? Now it's not only journalists who get them, but also, I'm not in a position to get copies from anybody.
Yeah.
One day, maybe, perhaps.
Oh, that'd be the day. It'd be like, hey, someone thought I was important enough to give me a free copy.
But like I said, I probably would say no. But then again, I probably the test will be, when it actually happens, if it ever happens. But I'm not in a position to do that. But I know people who are, and I follow people who have been, and do they do paid content, and there's a lot of rules now with the FCC where you have to show that, hey, this is paid content, and yes, it's sponsored by Sony or Microsoft or whatever. The talk about the upgrade that did with Andromeda, it was exclusive for Microsoft. That means it's not for Sony.
Yeah,
right.
Even though Sony
it's not for
should be
PC.
capable.
It's not for PC. What does that mean? It means that either Microsoft paid EA or EA paid Microsoft, or combination of the both, right? In order to boost sales for Microsoft machines, which is in the bottom of the sales compared to the Switch and to the PlayStation, right? And to have the image of that Andromeda is still alive.
Oh my gosh! Hey, why don't you get yourself a new Xbox One S to play Mass Effect Andromeda in stunning high definition? I can just see that going really well.
Well, that's exactly what they did,
I guess.
But
I'm just trying to think of that in like a very serious like market campaign, not just in a little Twitter video thing.
Yeah, and also, I think...
I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda was a pretty game, like, environmentally.
Yeah, environmentally. In other areas, it was like, what's wrong with your face? Oh. Okay. Is that how you talk when you're drunk? Wow. Really? Okay. I mean, it was a pretty game in some areas, pretty empty spaces, very empty parking lot kind of thing, but I had a okay time with it. But we're not going to talk about drama too much. Just an example. And also, I think this happens with all advertising, but for the majority of the time in video game advertising was very scattershot. Like, you can sometimes see mostly console games still advertised on television from time to time, like very big games. I remember one of the advertising that really stuck with me was the original Grand Theft Auto 3. Had an advertising that was like a trailer for a movie with the in-game graphics and all that. I was like, wow, that's just pretty impressive. But that's very rare.
Yeah, right? Sometimes on the rare occasions that I'm at somebody else's house and they just happen to have the TV on them, I'm sometimes always shocked as to like, oh wow, they're playing like an advertising for a video game. Like, yeah. It's kind of odd. Or when I go out to like a restaurant, they happen to have a TV on. It's usually I've noticed it's usually cable television that has those, and they tend to be around like sports, and then it's usually sports games that get advertised during sports shows.
Yeah, you want to play like your favorite sports star in football, basketball, soccer, whatever.
But
Buy
most
this.
of the games that I do see get advertised and are like Sony exclusive games or Microsoft exclusive games. Like, hey, buy an Xbox One or play like this multi-platform game on Xbox One or
Yeah.
something.
But for the most of the time, I think at least for the first 20 some years, it was very scattershot. I think you get in a lot of you get in the back of magazines and the back of the game itself a little card that said, where do you hear from this game? Do you heard it from a friend? You heard it from you read it on this magazine?
Oh, yeah.
You saw it on a TV ad, right? The fact
Oh
that
yeah,
it would,
those little survey things in your manual that I don't think I ever mailed in.
I think I mailed one or two of them because I was just bored. But the fact that they existed at all was that it shows you that the companies were spending money but didn't know where it was really going, what was really effective, right? And I've seen most people didn't fill those in, so they never really got any information, and even the information they got probably wasn't very accurate. Nowadays, they're spending more and more on conventions, on magazine spots, on YouTube, on Twitch. So it's more directed. But because they're spending more money, I think they expect more control. Which brings us back to the question we asked in a couple of earlier podcasts. What is again the role of video game journalism? Right?
It almost feels like an echo chamber. Like, oh hey, this game exists and buy it.
And another thing is that now we also have the extra layer of sort of this confrontation between the journalist and the audience, right?
Because there's been many accusations of, oh, you didn't finish this game and you gave it a low score, or you didn't finish this game and you gave it a high score. And are you really a gamer? Or like, I believe there was one where like somebody's skill level was come into question because like, oh, they gave it a low score because they weren't very good at the game.
And another thing is that there's reasons to be critical, and I agree with many of these reasons, but I sort of notice a pattern, and you also brought it up, reflexive defense of both the industry and of certain practices, and falling into, oh, well, clearly, if you don't support this because you're maybe racist, or maybe you're, misogynist. It's like, when I'm all for when people are being misogynist and racist, and we talked about this. We talked about game level design and stuff like that. Even our favorite BioWare company, my favorite N7 day game, which is Mass Effect. We talked about those things. But the idea, for example, saying, oh, you didn't like the idea of Diablo Immortal being a mobile game because you're misogynist, because the majority of people that play mobile games are women. It's like, I just don't like mobile games. Maybe that's a factor, but it's not a factor in the massive mistake that Blizzard made in choosing the wrong platform and the wrong audience to announce a product that still is going to make money, but you just screwed up. You screwed up advertising 101. That's what really happened. You got the booze because you told the wrong people about this at the wrong time. Had you just done it, yes, it would have been downvoted, whatever, but it would have passed. It was like, nah, most people were like, that's not for me, and that's going to be the end of it. They're going to wait for the real, quote-unquote, real Diablo game or whatever you're going to give them. There were many other ways to do that. So it was, and so, and also we see, and this is part of that is actually being weaponized by publishers themselves. Like, support us, support your favorite game, support you want more games like this, support them, get hyped, blah blah. And so when there is a critical article pointing say the lack of utter and complete content on a game that got finished a year and a half later, something stars, and it's like people were like, yeah, listen, we don't really know a lot about this game. A part of the media was hyping it. The other part was going, we don't know what this game is about. We haven't really seen anything about it. It looks pretty, but we've been around for a while. We know that, procedural generated content doesn't guarantee anything. And when it dropped, well, it was a big empty space. Right?
Oh.
And so
The house of cards toppled over. The
It,
house of hype.
the House of Hype really imploded. I mean, the game has bounced back, but and that's another thing as well. It's like I seen advertising, magazines sort of defending microtransactions, even the scummiest stuff with microtransactions, defending a lot of bad practices. And then finally, I think there's an extra element to this is that even we talk about Jim Sterling, and he was the first one to admit it. And I have to admit myself that this is something that applies to me, even as a very small streamer, an affiliate. A lot of the stuff that isn't quote unquote traditional media is very much brand driven and personal brand driven and personality driven.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter how well intentioned you are, that sort of gravitational pull of your brand and or personality, which are intermixed, will color your coverage. Right? I saw a response to, supposedly from a dev, to Jim Sterling's criticism of Red Dead Redemption having basically too much useless stuff. Like, oh, well, this is just the angry reviewer thing, people who are never happy, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, if this is a waste of time, really, and there are better ways to make things, to streamline these things, that's actually a viable criticism. But it's very easy to deflect that criticism because, James Sterling is one of those angry reviewers, right? Those clowns on the screen. I'm
like to over exaggerate their dislike for something,
or their expertise. I think that was also an implication that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I was like, well, are these things in the game? Yes. Do they work the way that he described them? Yes. Are they really necessary? No. Could the game run smoother without them? Probably. So yeah, I mean, and people also we talk about old media, new media. I don't see anybody really new media as a group, because this is something you can't do by yourselves, right? Pushing back against all these trends. I mean, if you set up a website, where websites are now, many of the big ones have just fallen by the wayside. And you need advertising, that we talked about. Where are you going to get it from? If you need views because you put it on YouTube and you don't have a strong personality, then you're not going to, or you need, subscribers on, say, Twitch, and you don't have a strong particular personality, then what are you going to get to support, right? Patreon could work, but again, Patreon it really runs on strong personality. So this is the thing, I have no idea where to move forward. I'm like,
yeah, because again, it's like it comes down to like, where's that money come from? Like, you kind of have to look at like what specific commonalities do gamers have. Like, maybe not all gamers have pets. Maybe not all gamers have like children, so you can't really advertise certain aspects of or certain products to gamers. I mean, all gamers, I assume, unless they're robotic gamers out there, they all eat. But what do they like? What kind of food do most gamers be in? Maybe something simple like Totino's Pizza to go in with your Assassin's Creed Odyssey game, so you wouldn't have to waste as much time cooking and have a quick snack.
Yeah.
Here, I also enjoy this axe.
So you can smell manly in ancient Greece.
Yeah, that's something I've been kind of noticing too when it comes to like when I watch videos on YouTube that have like sponsored, hey, this video is brought to you by so and so. Like the No has a lot of them, but there's also a lot of advertising. So far, the main ones I've seen is like web space, like ads or web pages. Like eye straining glasses, and there's like
shaving cream.
Shaving
butt
like
wipes.
Those mail in like get food here, like get like kind of throw it all in a pan together food, and ta-da, you have a complete meal. Like pre-prepared, like pre-prepared food so that you don't have to waste a lot of prep time.
Yeah.
A lot of time on prepping food. I mean, those are kind of like small things, but it's mostly still going to primarily come from the gaming industry itself, which is, again, you're kind of have to walk around like broken glass.
And you will get cut.
Yeah, to try maintain your try maintain being critical and writing what you want, and at the same time trying to keep in mind where your paychecks are coming from.
Yeah, very much. So this is one podcast in which we really don't have any solutions or even ideas where
yeah,
where
it's
to
like
fall.
right now I was thinking, like, I remember I used to have like an old like tips and tricks magazine. Like that was a really old article or an old magazine where it had mostly published a bunch of cheat codes, but they had articles in there too, upcoming games and stuff. It's just like,
yeah,
I
but
kind of want to go back.
most of those are now for free because people just publish their walkthroughs online for free. So
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, like, I kind of want to look back and see what kind of ads they had before.
yeah.
But I don't think I have my copy lying around. It might have fallen apart a long time ago.
So yeah, chat. If you do come up with any ideas, you can of course always comment on this podcast on the Discord, which is down below, or I'll probably put the YouTube version of this, the VOD, soon, probably by tomorrow. Chapelmon, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at Chopamon pretty much anywhere. I am Chopamon_Aragon on Twitch and Twitter, and Chopamon on YouTube.
Yes, and of course you can find me here at Lessons Learned 1 or Lessons Learned at YouTube. We continue the playthrough of Pathfinder Kingmaker, which is proven to be very long, also very interesting as well. Now we're fighting giant monsters, which is always good, and solving problems with the sword, because, Dungeons and Dragons. Well, not really. It's Pathfinder. So I would say thank you, everybody, for coming and for joining us. And as always, if you want to support this channel, there are many ways to do so. You can follow, comment, join the chat, subscribe, of course, is all welcome. Cheers as well. And, of course, you can go to Discord. So thank you all for coming. And as always, we'll see you when we see you.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.